I went to my beach house to relax, but found my sister-in-law was already inside with her whole family and shouted, "Why is this stupid leech here? Get out." I smiled and said, "Okay, I'll leave." But what I did after made her life hell. My name is Kelly, and I'm 32 years old. I work as a dentist at a pretty big private practice in Denver. I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and I'm good at what I do. I'm not just some regular dentist though. Sometimes when my boss, Dr. Harrison, can't be there, I fill in for him. I handle all the administrative stuff, dealing with suppliers, managing the staff schedule, all that boring paperwork nobody wants to do. For the past 2 months, I'd been doing exactly that. Dr. Harrison had some serious problems at home with his wife, and he needed time off. So there I was, treating patients all day and then staying late to do his job too. I was exhausted. My back hurt from leaning over patients. My eyes were tired from looking at teeth and paperwork, and I just needed a break. I have this lake house about 40 minutes from my apartment in Lakewood. I bought it 3 years ago with money I saved up. It's nothing fancy, just a small cabin near Bear Creek Lake, but it's mine. I love going there to clear my head. I usually go 2 or 3 times a month when I need to get away from the city noise and the stress. The place is peaceful. You can hear the water, see the pine trees, and there's no one bothering you about dental emergencies or staffing issues. I'm not the only one who uses it, though. I gave my parents a set of keys so they could go there whenever they wanted. They're retired now and they like to spend weekends there sometimes. My younger brother Lucas also has access. He got married 2 years ago to this woman named Kelsey, and they'd go to my lake house sometimes too. I need to tell you about Kelsey. She's 28, and from the moment I met her, I knew she was trouble. She acts like she's better than everyone else. She walks around with her nose in the air, talks down to people, and treats my brother like he's her servant. I tried to be nice to her at first because Lucas seemed happy, but she made it really hard. Every time we talked, she'd make some comment about how I worked too much, or how I should dress better, or how sad it was that I didn't have a husband yet. Real sweet, right? But Lucas loved her, so I kept my mouth shut. I let them use my lake house because I figured whatever, it's just sitting there empty most of the time anyway. Why not let my brother enjoy it? That Friday, I finally finished covering for Dr. Harrison. He was coming back on Monday, which meant I could actually take a weekend off for the first time in 2 months. I decided to go to the lake house and just do nothing. Sleep late, read a book, sit by the water, eat junk food. After work, I stopped at King's Supers. I grabbed some stuff for the weekend: penny pasta, marinara sauce, a Caesar salad kit, some chicken breasts, sourdough bread, cheddar cheese, a bottle of Pinot Grigio, and dark chocolate. I also picked up shampoo and body wash because I'd run out last time I was there. I loaded everything into my Honda CR-V and started driving. The drive was nice. It was about 7 in the evening and the sun was setting over the Rockies. I had the windows down and I was already starting to feel better. I was thinking about how I'd pour myself some wine, make dinner, and just relax on the porch. But when I got close to the house, I saw something weird. There were lights on inside. Bright lights, like every lamp in the place was turned on. And there were cars in the little parking area next to the house. 3 cars. I recognized Lucas's silver Camry right away, but the other 2 I didn't know. I parked and sat there for a second, confused. Lucas hadn't mentioned he'd be there. Nobody had told me anything. I got out of the car and walked up to the door. I could hear music playing inside. Loud music, the kind you play at a party. I knocked on the door. Nothing. I knocked again, harder. Still nothing. They couldn't hear me over the music. I pulled out my keys and unlocked the door. I pushed it open and walked in. The smell hit me first. Alcohol and perfume mixed together. Then I saw them. There were maybe 10 people in my living room. Kelsey was there, standing near the kitchen with a drink in her hand. Her parents were sitting on my couch. There were other people I didn't recognize, probably her aunts and uncles or cousins or something. Empty Coors Light bottles and wine bottles were all over the coffee table. Someone had opened my windows, and there was music blasting from a Bluetooth speaker I didn't even own. When I walked in, someone noticed me and turned off the music. Everyone turned to look at me. I expected them to look embarrassed or sorry, like normal people would if they got caught using someone else's house without asking. But no. They just looked annoyed, like I was the one interrupting something I shouldn't be. Kelsey's face was red. She was definitely tipsy, maybe even drunk. She put her hands on her hips and said, "What are you doing here?" I just stared at her for a second. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "What am I doing here?" I said. "This is my house, Kelsey. What are you doing here?" She laughed. Then she said, "We have a key, so we can come here whenever we want and relax." I looked around at all of them. Her parents weren't saying anything. The other relatives were just watching, waiting to see what would happen. "I came here to relax this weekend," I said, trying to stay calm. "So you all need to finish up your party tonight and go home." You should have seen their faces. They all started talking at once, saying things like, "Are you serious? And we just got here." Kelsey was the loudest. She turned to the others and said, "Why is this stupid leech even here?" Then she looked right at me and said, "Get out of here before we kick you out ourselves." I felt like someone had slapped me. I looked at her parents, at the cousins, at everyone. They were all staring at me like I was the problem, like I was the rude one. I smiled. I don't know why, but I smiled. "Okay," I said. "I'll leave." I turned around and walked out. As I closed the door, I heard them shouting things at me. "Leech. Lonely woman. Stupid old lady." Other stuff I'm not going to repeat. I got in my car, still smiling, but inside I was so angry I could barely see straight. I drove back to my apartment. It took me 40 minutes, and the whole time I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt. When I got home, I unloaded all the groceries I bought. I put everything away. Then I sat down at my kitchen table. I made myself a mug of chamomile tea and just sat there thinking. When Lucas married Kelsey 2 years ago, I was the one who paid for most of their wedding. It wasn't a small wedding either. They wanted the fancy venue at the Brown Palace Hotel, the expensive flowers, the photographer, the whole thing. Lucas and my parents came to me and asked if I could help. They said Lucas didn't have enough saved up, and my parents couldn't afford it on their retirement income. So I wrote a check for $22,000. Kelsey just said it was nice and moved on. Then there was the apartment. About a year ago, Lucas started having problems at work. He worked in sales for a tech company, and they were cutting commissions. He wasn't making as much money as before. Meanwhile, Kelsey didn't work at all. She told everyone she wasn't made for working, that she was meant to be a wife and enjoy life, whatever that means. So Lucas came to me and asked if I could help pay their rent for a few months. 2 or 3 months, he said, just until he got back on his feet. Their rent was $1,600 a month. I said yes because he's my brother and I wanted to help him. But 2 or 3 months turned into a year. I'd been paying their rent for 12 months straight. That's over $19,000. Every month, I'd transfer the money to their landlord. And every month, I'd tell myself it would be the last time. But Lucas would call and say he still needed help, and I'd do it again. And that wasn't even everything. I had a separate savings account with about $30,000 in it. It was for emergencies, for things I might need down the road. I gave Lucas access to that account too. I told him it was only for real emergencies, and he promised he'd only use it if he absolutely had to. But I'd check the account sometimes, and I'd see withdrawals. $400 here, $500 there, sometimes more. I never said anything because I figured he needed it, and I kept putting more money back in to replace what he took. Then there was Kelsey's car. For their wedding gift, I bought them a car. Well, not exactly. I paid for her car loan every month. It was $375. I'd been doing that for 2 years. That's $9,000 total. I did the math in my head while I sat there drinking my tea. The wedding. The rent. The car. The emergency account. I'd given them over $60,000 in 2 years. Maybe more. And Kelsey had just called me a leech. She told me to get out of my own house. I finished my tea and made a decision. I wasn't going to support them anymore. I was done. I picked up my phone and opened my banking app. I went to the automatic payment section and found the rent payment for Lucas's apartment. I cancelled it. Then I looked at the car loan payment for Kelsey's Nissan Rogue. I cancelled that too. The next morning, Saturday, I got up early and drove to Wells Fargo. I walked in and asked to speak to someone about my accounts. They set me up with one of the managers, a woman named Gloria who I'd worked with before. I need to remove someone from my emergency account, I said. Sure. Who do you want to remove? She asked. My brother, Lucas Brennan, I said. She pulled up my account on her computer and made the change. It took maybe 5 minutes. Lucas no longer had access to my money. When I left the bank, I felt even better. I didn't call Lucas. I didn't call Kelsey. I didn't tell my parents. I just went home and waited. It didn't take long. The following Friday, exactly 1 week later, my phone rang. It was Lucas. I answered. He didn't even say hello. He just said, "What happened? Why didn't the landlord get the rent payment?" I took a deep breath and said, "Because I'm not paying your rent anymore." There was silence on the other end. I also cancelled your access to my emergency account, I said. And I stopped paying for Kelsey's car loan. More silence. Then Lucas started yelling. "Are you crazy?" he shouted. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "Nothing's wrong with me," I said calmly. "I'm perfectly sane. You should thank your wife for this. She kicked me out of my own house last weekend, remember?" Lucas hung up. About 30 seconds later, my phone started ringing again. It was Kelsey. I didn't answer. She called again. I didn't answer. Then the text messages started coming in. "You're greedy. You're selfish. You're vindictive. How can you do this to family? You're a terrible person." I read them all and just laughed. I actually laughed out loud, sitting there on my couch. Then half an hour later, my mom called. I answered. "Kelly, what's going on?" she said. "Lucas just called me and is very upset." I told her everything. I told her about going to the lake house, about Kelsey and her family being there, about how they treated me, about what Kelsey said. I told her I'd stopped paying their rent and the car loan and cut off Lucas's access to my account. My mom was quiet for a while. Then she said, "Kelly, honey, you need to understand your brother's position. He loves his wife. Kelsey is just a little moody sometimes. You should give in a little bit so we don't have a family conflict." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, this is about respect," I said. "If Kelsey doesn't respect me but uses my money, then I'm cutting off the money. It's that simple." "But Kelly..." I hung up on her. I know that sounds bad, but I couldn't listen to it anymore. That next Friday, I drove to my lake house. I'd called a locksmith earlier in the week and scheduled an appointment. When I got there, he was already waiting. He changed all the locks for me. New keys, new deadbolt, everything. I paid him in cash and thanked him. Nobody was using my house anymore. Not Lucas and Kelsey. Not even my parents. They didn't appreciate what I did for them, and they didn't stand up for me when I needed them to. I spent the weekend there alone. It was quiet and peaceful, exactly what I needed. A few more days passed. It was Wednesday evening and I was at home making spaghetti carbonara when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw my mom, my dad, and Lucas standing there. I noticed Kelsey wasn't with them. Smart move on their part. They knew seeing her would just make things worse. I opened the door and let them in. We all sat down at my kitchen table. Nobody said anything at first. The silence was uncomfortable. Finally, Lucas spoke up. "Kelly, I get it," he said. "I understand why you're upset. I talked to Kelsey, and she's willing to apologize to you, but only if you give everything back. The rent payments, the car payments, my access to your account. All of it. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The whole thing was so ridiculous. I'm not giving anything back, I said. My mom looked upset. My dad just sat there looking at the table. I picked up my phone and opened my messages. I scrolled to the conversation with Kelsey and turned the phone around so they could all see it. Look at what she's been sending me all week, I said. They leaned in and started reading. There were dozens of messages. Kelsey had called me an old maid. She wrote that I was a useless woman. She said I didn't have a man because I was pathetic and jealous of her. She wrote that I was ugly and needed a nose job. She said I was bitter because my life was empty. On and on and on. My parents' faces changed as they read. My dad looked shocked. My mom looked uncomfortable. Lucas just stared at the screen. This is what your wife really thinks of me, I said to Lucas. And you want me to keep paying for her life? Lucas didn't say anything. My mom cleared her throat. Kelly, I know this is hard, but you still need to help your brother. He's having money problems. It's going to be very difficult for him to support his wife without your help. I shook my head. I've already decided. I'm not supporting you anymore. Any of you. Lucas stood up. Fine. If that's how you want it. They all left. My dad didn't say a single word the whole time. He just followed my mom and Lucas out the door. I sat there for a while after they left, wondering if I'd done the right thing. But then I remembered Kelsey's face when she told me to get out of my own house, and I knew I had. 2 weeks went by. I focused on work and tried not to think about my family. Then my mom called me one afternoon. Kelly, I thought you should know, she said. The landlord evicted Lucas and Kelsey from their apartment. They're moving in with us. Okay, I said. Thanks for letting me know. I hung up. I felt a little bad for my parents, but they'd made their choice. 2 months passed. Work was good. I was back to just doing dentistry. No more administrative stuff. Dr. Harrison had sorted out his personal problems and was running the practice again. I had my weekends free, and I went to the lake house a few times. It was nice having it to myself. Then my mom called again. She sounded tired. Kelly, I need to talk to you, she said. What's wrong? I asked. It's Kelsey. I'm so tired of her living here. She's impossible. I didn't say anything. I just listened. She's so moody all the time, my mom continued. She complains about everything. She wants special food that I have to cook separately. She doesn't like the way I clean. She doesn't like the temperature in the house. Nothing is ever good enough for her. Aha, I said. And she bosses us around, my mom said. Last week, she made your father move furniture around in the living room. She wanted the couch on a different wall. Your father has back problems, Kelly. You know that. And she made him lift heavy furniture. And then she had me reorganize the kitchen cabinets because she said they were messy. I have high blood pressure. I can't be doing all that physical work. What does Lucas say about all this? I asked. He defends her, my mom said. Every single time. She does something rude, and he makes excuses for her. Well, you let them move in, I said. So you'll have to figure out how to deal with it yourself. Kelly, please. I hung up. I know it sounds mean, but I'd warned them. They didn't listen. 2 more months went by. 4 months total since I'd cut off Lucas and Kelsey. I was doing great. I'd saved so much money. I'd actually started looking at buying a new car, a Subaru Outback, something I'd been putting off for years because I was always giving money to Lucas. One day, I was at work and the receptionist told me my parents were there. They wanted to talk to me. I was between patients, so I took a break and met them at Starbucks down the street. We sat down, and my mom got right to it. Lucas and Kelsey are getting divorced, she said. I blinked. What? Kelsey was very unhappy with how their life changed, my mom continued. She was angry that they didn't have access to your money anymore. She was upset about living with us. She hated that their lifestyle got worse. My dad finally spoke up. She told Lucas he was worthless. She said he couldn't provide for her properly. She posted things on Facebook, my mom added. She wrote that Lucas was a pathetic man who couldn't support his wife. She said he wasn't worthy of her. She said she deserved better. And what did Lucas do? I asked. He finally lost his temper, my dad said. He filed for divorce last week. I nodded slowly. Good. That's the smartest thing he's ever done. My mom didn't argue with me this time. Neither did my dad. They both just sat there looking tired and sad. We finished our coffee and they left. I went back to work and tried to process everything. A few months later, I heard from my mom that the divorce was final. Lucas and Kelsey were officially done. She moved back in with her own parents and stopped posting nasty things about Lucas online. Then 2 months after that, my mom called with more news. Lucas got a new job, she said. A really good one. He's making excellent money now, more than he ever made before. That's great, I said. And I meant it. He moved out of our house into his own apartment, she said. He's doing really well, Kelly. I was genuinely happy for him. Maybe losing Kelsey was the wake-up call he needed. Things were quiet for a while after that. I kept working, kept going to my lake house on weekends, and tried to rebuild my relationship with my parents. They'd apologized to me a few months after the divorce. My mom admitted that I'd been right about Kelsey all along, and my dad said he was sorry for not speaking up when he should have. I forgave them. They're my parents, after all. Lucas and I didn't talk much at first. I think he was embarrassed about everything that had happened. But slowly, over time, we started texting each other here and there. Nothing deep, just checking in. He never asked me for money again, which I appreciated. About 6 months after the divorce was final, my mom called me with some interesting news. You'll never guess what happened, she said. What? Kelsey tried to get back together with Lucas. I almost dropped my phone. Are you serious? Completely serious, my mom said. She called him last week. She told him she made a mistake and that she wanted to work things out. What did Lucas say? I asked. He told her no. He said he didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. I smiled. Good for him. She didn't take it well, my mom continued. She kept calling him and texting him. She even showed up at his apartment one day. He had to tell her he'd call the police if she didn't leave him alone. Wow, I said. She's desperate, Kelly, my mom said. I think she realized what she lost. Lucas has a great job now. He's making good money. He's happy. And she threw all of that away. We talked for a few more minutes and then hung up. I felt satisfied in a way. Kelsey had treated Lucas like garbage, and now she was paying for it. But the story didn't end there. A week later, I was at home watching Netflix when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway. Hello? I said. Kelly, it's Kelsey. I almost hung up right then, but I was curious about what she wanted. What do you want, Kelsey? I asked. I need your help, she said. Please, Kelly. I know I was horrible to you. I know I said terrible things, but I need you to help me get back together with Lucas. He won't listen to me. Maybe if you talk to him. I started laughing. I couldn't help myself. You're calling me to ask for help getting back with my brother? I said. After everything you did. I made mistakes, she said. I know that now, but Lucas and I belong together. We were good together. No, you weren't, I said. You treated him like dirt. You didn't work. You spent his money and my money. You insulted me in my own house. You called me names. You posted awful things about Lucas online. And now you want me to help you? Kelly, please. Let me remind you of something, I said. You called me a leech. You told me to get out of my own house. You sent me messages calling me an old maid, a useless woman. You said I needed a nose job. You said I was pathetic and jealous. Remember all of that? She was quiet. You don't deserve a man like my brother, I said. You don't deserve anyone who's going to treat you well, because you don't know how to treat other people well. Lucas is better off without you, and he knows it. You're just bitter because you're alone, she said. Her voice had changed. She sounded angry now. Maybe I am alone, I said. But I'd rather be alone than be with someone who treats me the way you treated Lucas and the way you treated me. I hung up. That was the last time I talked to Kelsey directly. But I heard about her from my mom over the next few months. Apparently, Kelsey started dating some new guy pretty quickly after Lucas refused to take her back. My mom told me his name was Garrett or something like that. She said he was bad news. He drinks a lot, my mom said. And I heard from Kelsey's mother that he's into drugs too. She's very upset about Kelsey's choices. Well, Kelsey made her bed, I said. Now she has to lie in it. My mom agreed. A few more months passed. I ran into Lucas at our parents' house one Sunday. We were both there for dinner. It was the first time we'd really sat down and talked in a long time. How are you doing? I asked him. I'm good, he said. Really good, actually. Work is great. I got promoted last month. I'm making more money than I ever thought I would. That's amazing, I said. And I'm dating someone new, he said. Her name is Lauren. She's a teacher at Cherry Creek High School. She's really nice. I'm happy for you, I said. And I meant it. Lucas looked at me for a second, then said, Kelly, I need to say something. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. For letting Kelsey treat you the way she did. For taking your money and not appreciating it. For not standing up for you when I should have. You were right about everything. And I was an idiot. I felt tears coming to my eyes, but I blinked them back. I forgive you, I said. He hugged me, and we were okay after that. As for Kelsey, the last thing I heard was that she was still with that guy Garrett, the one who drinks and uses drugs. My mom told me she looked terrible the last time someone saw her. She'd gained weight, her hair was a mess, and she just looked unhappy. Part of me felt bad for her. But mostly, I thought she got exactly what she deserved. She thought she was too good for everyone. She thought she could treat people however she wanted, and there wouldn't be consequences. She was wrong. And me? I'm doing great. I'm still working as a dentist. I still go to my lake house on weekends. I've started dating someone too, actually. His name is Nathan, and he's a teacher at the same school where Lucas's girlfriend Lauren works. They introduced us. I've saved so much money since I stopped supporting Lucas and Kelsey. I bought that Subaru Outback I wanted. I'm thinking about taking a trip to Italy next year. My relationship with my parents is good again. My relationship with Lucas is better than it's been in years. I learned something from all of this. I learned that being generous is good, but letting people take advantage of you isn't. I learned that family is important, but respect is more important. And I learned that sometimes you have to cut people off to protect yourself, even if it's hard. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a leech. I never was. I was just someone who cared too much about people who didn't care enough about me. And now? Now I only give my energy to people who deserve it.